In 2019, health inspectors walk into the five-star restaurant Le Gold and find rats living in the walls, expired meat stacked in the back freezer, and $2 million in cash hidden behind the frozen shrimp. The man behind it all is you. This is how you got there. Level 1. The dream. You grow up in a small apartment where the stove is always on, but never for anything fancy. Your mother cooks because it's cheap, not because it's art. Rice stretched 3 ways, meat rationed so it lasts the week. But you watch her hands anyway. You watch the way she turns almost nothing into something that fills the room with a smell you still remember 20 years later. You don't have the toys the other kids have. You have a kitchen. And somewhere between the smoke and the steam, you decide this is what you want to do with your life. At 16, you take a job washing dishes at a restaurant you can't afford to eat at. The pay is bad, the hours are worse, but you stay late anyway, unpaid, just to watch the line cooks work. You memorize the way the head chef plates a dish, the tilt of the plate, the flick of the wrist, the way he wipes the rim clean like it matters more than the food itself. You get your shot at 19. Someone quits without notice, and the head chef points at you and says, "You, line 3, now." You don't sleep that week. You show up 2 hours before your shift and leave 2 hours after it ends. Within a month, he's calling you by name instead of new guy. Within a year, he's letting you touch dishes with his name on them. By 25, people are saying it out loud. He's the next big thing. Critics start showing up quietly to watch you work. Other chefs start asking where you trained. You believe every word of it because for the first time in your life, someone is telling you that the thing you love is the thing you're actually good at. You open your first restaurant with money you don't really have, a loan you barely qualify for, a favor from an old boss, a business partner who believes in you more than the banks do. The first month is terrifying. Empty tables, silence where there should be noise. You lie awake doing math that doesn't work. Then the second month happens. A local food writer posts about your tasting menu. The post gets shared, then shared again. By the end of the week, there's a line around the block, and you're standing in the middle of your own kitchen thinking, "I did it. I actually did it." You have no idea yet what it's going to cost you to keep it. Level 2. The temptation. Success is expensive. Nobody warns you about that part. Rent goes up faster than your prices can. Suppliers raise their rates the moment they realize you're popular now, like popularity is something you should be taxed for. Your dream restaurant, the one with a line around the block, is quietly bleeding money, and you're the only one who sees the real numbers because you're the only one who's allowed to see them. So you make your first small compromise. You switch your meat supplier for a cheaper one. The quality drops just slightly. You tell yourself no one will notice. No one notices. That's the problem. That's exactly how it starts, not with a decision, but with the absence of consequences. You begin cutting corners in places customers can't see. Produce that's a day past what it should be goes into the dish anyway, because throwing it out feels like throwing away money you don't have. You start portioning slightly smaller, plating slightly cleverer, hiding the shrinkage behind good lighting and better garnish. Then the health inspector shows up for a routine check. You watch him walk your kitchen with his little notebook, and before he opens it to write anything down, you slide an envelope across the counter. He looks at it, he looks at you, and then he puts it in his coat pocket and leaves early without writing a single note. You stand there in the quiet after he's gone, stunned by how easy that just was. It takes less than 30 seconds to buy someone's silence. You'll remember that for the rest of your life. After that, the compromises come faster. You print organic, farm fresh on a menu stocked with frozen imports because nobody's actually checking, and the customers eat it up, literally and figuratively.
You take a young line cook's recipe, the one dish that's been quietly getting attention online, and you put your own name on it in the new menu without asking her. When she brings it up, you tell her it's process policy. When suppliers call about invoices you haven't paid in months, you let it ring out. When staff push back on any of it, you raise your voice until the kitchen goes silent and nobody pushes back again. You tell yourself this is just what it takes to survive at the top. You almost believe it. Level 3, the empire. The money starts moving faster than you can track it, and instead of slowing down to look at it, you speed up. You open a second restaurant, then a third, then a fourth, all within a single year, because the more the empire spreads out, the harder it becomes to look directly at any one piece of it. Growth starts to feel like proof that none of it is actually a problem. Awards start showing up on your wall, the kind you later admit only to yourself late at night that you basically paid for. Food critics who once genuinely loved your cooking are quietly replaced by reviewers who write suspiciously glowing 5-star pieces that read a lot like the check you wrote them. Influencers post your plates from angles chosen specifically to hide what's actually going on underneath the garnish. Cash starts flowing through the restaurants that has nothing to do with food at all. Deposits that don't match any dinner service. Investors you've never met asking for their restaurants to be listed as consultants. You don't ask questions about where any of it comes from. You just make sure the books balance cleanly enough that nobody else asks either. Ingredient costs keep climbing across all 4 locations, so you start doing something you swore years ago you'd never do, quietly swapping premium cuts for whatever's cheapest that week across every menu in every restaurant at the same time. Table 12 at Le Gold has no idea that dry-aged ribeye they're paying $90 for isn't dry-aged, isn't even the same cut, isn't even close. Nobody at any table knows the difference. You've convinced yourself somewhere along the way that not knowing is the same thing as not being hurt. You are on paper one of the most successful chefs in the entire city. Magazines want interviews. Young cooks want to work under you the way you once wanted to work under someone else. You've become exactly what you dreamed of becoming at 16, standing in your mother's kitchen. But secrets in a kitchen never stay hidden. Someone always sees. Someone always remembers what they saw. And in an empire this large, there are a lot of someones. Level 4, the cracks. It starts with one complaint. A customer gets sick after dinner at Le Gold. Stomach pain, a fever, a hospital visit. You brush it off. Food poisoning happens. It's not always the restaurant's fault. You've said that sentence to yourself so many times, it barely feels like a lie anymore. Then a second customer gets sick. Then a third. Someone posts about it online, tagging the restaurant, tagging you by name. You wait for it to disappear the way problems used to disappear when you paid the right person to make them disappear. It doesn't disappear this time. It gets shared instead. A former employee, someone you fired months ago for asking too many questions about the Farm Fresh label, starts talking, not to a lawyer, to the internet, where it spreads faster than any lawyer could ever move. Video after video, detail after detail, the frozen fish labeled fresh, the meat that sat too long before it hit the pan, the health inspector who always left early with something extra folded into his coat pocket. You watch the video the same night everyone else does, except you're the only person watching it who knows exactly how true every second of it is. The health department starts receiving tips, anonymous ones, more than one from more than one restaurant. You can feel it now, the exact moment when the walls of everything you spent a decade building start to lean, slowly, in a direction you can't stop.
Level 5, the downfall. The morning they come for Le Gold, you're not even surprised anymore. Part of you has been waiting for this since the very first envelope you slid across a counter years ago. Health officials walk through the front doors in broad daylight, and this time there are cameras walking in right behind them. They find everything the whistleblowers said they'd find, and worse. Rats behind the walls, exactly where the footage showed them. Expired meat stacked by the case in the back freezer, and underneath bags of frozen shrimp wrapped tight in plastic where no inspector should ever have reason to look, $2 million in cash that you have no explanation for that you're willing to say out loud. The story breaks by that evening. Every restaurant with your name attached to it shuts its doors within the week. Former customers post old receipts like courtroom evidence. Former staff give interview after interview about the man who screamed at them for cutting corners that he was the one telling them to cut in the first place. Lawsuits arrive faster than you can even open the envelopes. Investigators start pulling apart years of laundered money that moved quietly through kitchens people once lined up around the block just to eat in. Somewhere in the middle of all of it, you stop being the next big thing and start being the name people bring up as a warning at other people's dinner tables. Whether you end up behind bars, buried under settlements you'll spend the rest of your life paying off, or simply a name no serious restaurant will ever hire again, one thing is certain. The empire you built out of shortcuts collapsed the exact same way it was built, all at once, in full view of everyone who ever believed in you.